All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to episode 46 of the KissFAQ podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Julian, the admin on the KissFAQ. Joining me today are Ken, 69th Blizzard. Welcome back, Ken. Lonnie, who is not hosting today, but thank you always for stepping into that role, Lonnie, St. Louis Kiss. And there's some other guy. He's really silent, and we're going to have to prod him and force him to participate in this episode. Andrew, welcome back, alivecatman. It's always good to see and hear you, so don't be shy today, okay?
I won't, trust me, I won't.
Before we get started, can we do segment one, which is Andrew, show yourself off and show us what you're wearing today?
You know, I got a good one today. It's an original 1980 Unmasked tour t-shirt. So, and it's not the Palladium one. So it's just, I guess it's just a regular shirt. And it's even, if you look here, it's been washed a couple times, but you could definitely see that it's a legit shirt. So, and it's kind of purple. It's not black because it's been washed so many times.
Where do you get it from?
eBay. I got it off of eBay.
What did it cost you?
I think it was $100, and it actually would have been less, but my girlfriend at the time, which I don't know why I broke up with this girlfriend, but she was trying to get it for me, and we were outbidding each other, and I didn't know she was doing that. So I probably could have got it for, maybe it was $200, and it could have been $100. I don't remember. It was several years ago. But anyway, this is a cool shirt, and I really enjoy it.
Well, finally, I got the podcast again.
So nice.
There you go. Podcast.
Supporting the podcast, guys.
The Podfather Ken Mills, and of course they've got a brand new episode out. I think they put it up yesterday, and it's all about Kiss Cruise 5. So they've got a bunch of guests who were on the boat who are I haven't had a chance to listen to them yet, but I will later on this afternoon when I'm sitting in my car waiting to pick up my kid. So check it out, podkiss.com. Their latest episode has sprung. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the last episode. As always, if you want to hook up with those guys and tell us what you think about the episodes, you can find us on the board at kissfaq.com or on Facebook. Let's get into today's episode, and it's all about magazines. And our favorite, we put a number on it, our favorite 5 Kiss-related magazines throughout.
I got more than 5, but I definitely got
well, however many we can get to, as we go around the table, I think we've shared amongst ourselves first so that we try and avoid the overlap. But, even for the ones that we don't pick for ourselves, there's plenty of Kiss magazines to go around. I was just in the closet the other day looking for some, and I've got 4 feet worth of magazines. And of course, most of them are freaking Kerrangs, but a lot of Kiss magazines.
Those are still cool.
Yeah, a lot of them are mixed in. So why don't we get started with Ken? How about your first choice?
Okay, first choice. No particular order here. Here's one, which is kind of a sign of the times and just craziness. It was this Kiss one here is oh no, Gene Simmons is dead. But it's interesting. They have stuff in there. They talk about your general Kiss stuff about the 70s and them, and then there's this part about Gene Simmons that they cloned him. So he actually died, and then he was cloned, and actually showed this picture of Peter Criss with a little. I think it was at the Cadillac high school thing. And there's a little shorter guy that has Peter Criss's makeup on it. And they said, well, this is the actual clone of Gene Simmons before he got, old. I don't know how he grew so fast. They didn't explain that. But anyway, it's kind of funny. But they had a thing about the Cadillac in there. And it's just, this is more of a goofy kind of thing.
Yeah, what year is that?
Put out, 78. That was a 78. It's
got to be at least 78 based on the picture of Gene.
Yeah, that's a 78. So it's just, for me, it's just more fun kind of thing. It's not a lot of new information at that time or anything, but it was just kind of goofy fun, which they had a couple of those like that.
So I guess where McCartney died in the Beatles, they had to have the same thing happen in Gene. So. Mm-hmm. So did they go back and analyze the album covers and say, well, why is he walking barefoot?
There is
that there's evidence in these album
there was
covers.
A part in here.
That's why they're paintings for those years, because
no, there's about that. There's something about his boot. You know, the boot with the like the teeth, fangs. They said that it was a symbol of him being stabbed all the way through his body. One way to the other. Yeah. It was. It got into that kind of detail.
Kiss tabloids.
Wish I had the page up here, but there was some stuff like that, and a few other things with the album cover, one of the album covers, I think. But yeah, it was that kind of thing. They had these reasons, but it's like it really didn't make much sense.
Well, that's a cool start. Andrew, let's move on to you and one of yours.
Okay, this one is cool to me because this one, I remember getting this as a kid in 96, 97. It's the Kiss Rocks the World issue. And this is actually my second copy of this one, because the first one I cut up and like made a scrapbook and all that, and poster hung on my wall. So the cool thing about this one is all the posters are included, even the middle poster that was also, there you go, doubled as a calendar. And this stuff was cool because, remember, the internet was at its infancy. So all the pictures in here and all this stuff, and you really couldn't get anywhere else. You got to read about the new McFarlane toys that were just coming out, and this was cool. I actually got this magazine and another one at the same time, which I'm going to kind of put a call to arms out. If anybody has a copy of the Faces magazine from 96, which was a poster magazine, came out around the same time as this. That was actually my legitimate first Kiss magazine. I haven't had it for many years, but if anybody has Faces from 96, get in touch with me and I'll buy it off of you. But Kiss Rocks the World, this is a great magazine. It's got a lot of cool photos in it, a lot of cool content in it, and there's that Kiss Nation comic book that was put out, and tons of great content. So if you haven't seen this one, pick it up. It's a great magazine 20 years later.
Yeah, that one was obviously in my stack, and that's a real good one. And that
great
Faces one,
Oh, yeah.
I might have that Faces one.
If you got it,
but I don't think I'm going to sell it.
Okay, well, you could show it. You could show it up at the next episode. But that was the very first Kiss magazine I had, and had all those posters in there, and all those posters blanketed my walls as a kid.
That's nice. I mean, those are the stories that I think we're probably going to find a common thread either between ourselves when we talk about them, or with everyone else on the forums. A lot of these magazines were the ones that adorned our walls, when we were growing up, and I certainly know that's certainly the case for me. Lonnie, let's move on to one of your picks.
I'm gonna really echo what Andrew was saying. I got this one here, which came out right when the reunion happened. It's put out by Metal Edge, just like the one Andrew showed up a second ago. And it is just full of the shots from that first photo session that they did with Barry right after they announced the reunion tour. And it came out, I think, in June, like right before the Tiger Stadium show did. And it is just full of pictures of the band in their makeup. It was really one of the first opportunities you got to see pictures of the reunited band in their makeup, in their costumes. And I remember just reading this thing front to back, and not only reading this one, but when I was in 96, I guess I was 16, 17, when a Kiss magazine would come out, I would buy 3 copies. 1 to keep, and then 2 to cut up, because I would need front side and back side to plaster my walls with the photos from the magazine. So it was expensive collecting Kiss magazines back in the day, because I'd always have to buy 3 copies. But this one was really cool, and it kind of showcases the stage of what they were doing. Really kind of gave you insight of what was going to happen. And I think I got this like right before. I think it really came out. Like I said, it came out like right around Detroit in '96. And I saw them on July 2nd, 96. I remember getting this right before I saw them. And I was just so excited. It was just the height of my Kiss fandom. Not that I'm not Kiss fanboy now, but at 16, 17 years old, it was just out of control, because you guys remember what it was like in 96 at the reunion tour, that, Kiss really was the biggest band on the planet at the time. And this one was just awesome to me, because whenever I look at it, I remember that time in my life when I was getting ready to see them for the first time, and how amazing that first show in 96 was on the reunion tour. So if you haven't seen this one, definitely check this one out. And there's a page in it, even advertising Kisstory and they were reissuing Kiss Tree was signed by Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter. And the back of it showcases that you wanted the best, you got the best album that just came out. So it's a great one. And this is my third copy because I cut up the other two. They're gone.
I have that one too.
Yeah, same here. That's sitting around here somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back a little bit further in time for my pick. And again, just like Lonnie, you're kind of waxing lyrical, reminiscing about your youth and the irrational fandom back then. This is back to soon after I'd become a fan. Obviously, they didn't do any Asylum specials.
Thank God.
There's a reason.
But they did do.
Oh, yeah, I got that one.
The Kiss Exposed video special. And this was one of the rock scene spotlights issues that was all kind of dedicated to shit about the video. And I didn't have a job at the time. I think I was 15. I don't know. I didn't have a job. So I had to beg my sister. I was like, can you please get me a copy? Can you please get me a copy? And she's like, it's $3.95. How are you going to pay me back? And I'm like, I'll make your lunch for you for school for the next week. So she actually got it for me, I recall. And, it was the first thing that really had archival footage, photos in it that again allowed me to start developing as a fan, to start discovering that there was more to Kiss than Tears Are Falling, and the kind of the history I had started at. So when I look back at this thing, it's looking back that it's the start of my journey with Kiss. It's the first magazine that was dedicated to the band that I bought. I mean, obviously I bought Circus and Hit Parader and all that crap back then. And they sometimes had Kiss in it now and then, but they weren't heavily featured. So to have a dedicated magazine, it was like, wow. I was like really excited, thrilled when I finally persuaded her to get it for me, and started learning about the history of the band. So good starting point. All right, Ken, why don't we go to you for
back to me?
Choice.
And I want to say maybe at the beginning that we had a show on our favorite books, right? Back a while ago. Mm-hmm. I had books, and Julian, you brought out the Japanese. What's that?
Gene
is awesome.
B. Arthur.
My favorite way.
I lose the dress though. You brought out the Japanese, the Kiss. The encyclopedias or whatever they were called, the specials.
Yeah, those are the Music Live specials from 1977,
and
78.
we took them as books, and I had those too in my collection. I was going to bring them out, and I thought, well, he showed them out. They're kind of books. They're not magazines, or are they books? They're kind of like an in between kind of thing. But
shit, I have those today. Shit.
No, that's all right. Bring them out, because those are fantastic. I almost brought them out. So, Andrew, bring those out last, right? Okay, so I'm going to go into something else now. This one is really recent, I guess, is that the Kiss when they did the monster thing. Now, this is really good. I mean, looking through it, they have all, interesting stuff about, the album, then about each guy, right? Paul, Tommy, and so on. But they have great pictures in here. They have the section about costumes. And they also have the section about the history of the costumes, which I hope that one Ross Radley book is going to cover.
Oh yeah, that's Ross.
The costumes throughout the years. Here it is. There it is. This is about they talk about the different costumes throughout the years. So
aren't the years wrong in that? I think the years are wrong on those.
They
costumes.
might. I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't look that closely. Then they show stuff about the monster book. Well, that was overpriced, but they talk about a thing about creatures in the night, and then there a good thing I like about it at the back side. They talk about toys, but they talk about they cover every album. They cover every album. So from the beginning all the way up to obviously Monster. So they cover every little write up on each one, so it's really good.
You even got the original. I just saw the originals too in there. That's always nice to see in a magazine.
Yeah, they really did a pretty thorough job. And then they also covered videos. The Kissologies, is the Kissology. They talk a little about those and so on. So, and then about
Kiss Alive even.
And Julian has about 80 copies of this album. So he's looking for another one.
I've got way more than 80 if you add in the cassettes.
Okay.
Got like 30 cassettes of it as well.
Yeah, I think I have 3, so I'm way behind. Anyway, but that's a good one. I mean, that was recent and it was well done. I think it was Fangora did that one.
Yeah.
Right?
You're right.
So yeah, I'm glad when they do. If they do another album, I'd like them to do another.
They actually did an issue 2 of that.
Yeah.
So and it's
I have that. Is that the one with 3D?
Yeah, it's
glasses?
Shit though. It's shit. Like why did I get this? It's shit.
Yeah, this one was good. The other one wasn't as good.
I agree with you.
Which reminds me, I got to buy that thing. I've never had that. Never got around to it. Completely, I've not been big on magazines in the past few years, so I will have to catch up on that. You've sold me.
It's a booming market, so
I'll trade it for one of your acetates.
I don't have any acetates left. I sold them all.
Oh, darn.
All right, Lonnie, let's hit you next. I'm going to make Andrew wait.
that's right.
We'll see
less time for Andrew.
We'll see how long it takes him to get twitchy.
I want to talk.
No.
I'm like Animal.
Stop it. My next one is this one. It came out right when Psycho Circus was coming out with the album and the tour and all the events surrounding that. And this one was by Metal Edge too, and it kind of picks up almost where those ones, the one that Anders was, they were doing them like in a series almost, like the one that I showed and the one that Anders showed, like the first 2, and then they did this one. And the content in it really kind of picks up where the other ones leave off. There's like a timeline in it for the band and like kind of showcases the reunion tour and here's an advertisement for History 2.
That's shit.
God.
That's shit.
Dreadful.
One of the bigger wastes of money I have made on the band.
But
it showcases the reunion tour, talks about other things coming up. There's a couple pages in here with a press conference for the Psycho Circus album. There's even a page announcing Kiss Online.
That was so exciting at the time when Kiss was bringing out their own website.
Oh, I know.
And ISP that you could give even more of your money
to give even
Kiss
more money to
for the privilege of getting online.
I was one of the few suckers that said, "Yeah, I'm going to spend like $20 a month." And my mom got all magazines on her computer. I said Kiss Online at the top of it because she was, "What are you doing?" So, but those was a really cool one, and I guess just like the last one that I showed, I'm showing off ones from the late '90s because, just because of what it means to me and my fandom at the time. There's even some photos in here of that awesome Psycho Circus video shoot. The video is so great. That's but awesome. I guess it's important to me, just like the other one, because Psycho Circus came out when I was a freshman in college. And, I ditched class that day so I could go buy it the second it came out, at Best Buy at 10 a.m. when it opened. And, it just totally just blew off school that day so I could listen to the album and be like a kid, basically, and just sit there and look at the liner notes. So this one to me is really cool because it just because of the time it came out. And it came out in 98, and this thing's like $6 in 98. And again, I had to buy 3 of them. So, I mean, that's an expensive haul, buying 3 magazines, then the album's coming out and everything else that I'm spending money for this internet thing that they're suckering me into. So it's really a drain on my limited income at the time.
Oh, how we suffer as Kiss.
I know.
They just hold us upside down and empty our pockets,
don't they? They
just make us buy anything with a Kiss logo on it. It's like a Pavlovian response. Kiss logo. Here, take my money.
Here, please.
Andrew, would you like to speak?
I would. I have this one is really good, and I'm hoping none of you guys have this one in your collection. But this is the Monster Classic Rock fan pack.
Nice. I was going to ask about that.
That's a really good one.
Here's why this is cool. So I'm going to open it up because it's got something that looks kind of like an OBI if it was a Japanese release. So we put that over there. Then it kind of opens up, and it's got this really cool package because it has 4 books in here, and each book goes into each member. And you would think, oh, you're buying the same magazine 4 times with a different cover. That's not actually true. Each magazine has its own article about the guy that's on the cover. So the Tommy Thayer magazine has the Tommy Thayer article. The Paul Stanley magazine has the Paul Stanley article, so on and so forth. So they got these great photos. They're advertising the album, obviously, because the album was big at the time. And the other cool thing about this is, and I took these out. I don't even keep them in here because I like them so much. It came with 8x10s with each member. These are really cool Ross Halfin photos. So how cool was this? That in a digital age, this classic rock magazine, they're out of Europe, they're just putting out these great magazines that no one really does anymore. I mean, look, this is so cool. So, and I'm still not done. There's still more in here. So then we got Gene as the last one. So, and if you look through the actual magazine, let's get to.
I'm just hopping on eBay to buy one of those right now.
They're great, and
I can't believe you don't have one.
I don't, because I didn't want four copies of this. I didn't want four copies of the same damn magazine.
I was on the
but
fence.
it's not the same magazine.
I've just been educated.
I'm going through. So here's
the internet during the show again.
Here they're talking about Monster, but I want to get to the actual Gene Simmons article that's in here. So here we go. So then this is the Gene magazine. This has got the Gene Simmons article in there, and every member has its own article in there. So
I remember getting that and looking at the way Gene's doing his makeup on there, because it's like, it just looks awful.
Yeah, his makeup did look pretty awful at this time, and I actually here's another fanboy moment. I actually didn't like the first version of his monster costume. So if you look now, he's got these bigger shoulder pads, the first version, and then once they went to Australia in 2013, they were significantly reduced in size. So that's the second version of the monster costume, in case any of you all wanted to know. But anyway, this is a great thing, and I wish more companies took the time and put out magazines like this. So
fucking hell! I found one on eBay, $379.
Well, that's a good investment, Andrew. You and I made.
Actually, you know what? And this is actually a really funny story. So they were giving these away at one of the Indie Kiss Expo. If you purchase, I think one of the platinum ticket packages, the packages in there. I can't put this all away right now. It's too much to do. And Mr. Speed was playing, so obviously I didn't buy a VIP package. I just kind of went up to Steve or Keith and I go, I'm taking one of these. And I go, and no is not an option. So and I just took it. So I didn't pay anything for it.
Oh, wow.
Bully.
Nice.
Okay.
So
it looks like I'm going to have to wait until I've there's a second one for $150, but I don't think so.
Actually, I think when they first came out, I think it was between $50 and $60.
It wasn't cheap.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
I paid for mine, unlike Andrew, and it wasn't cheap though.
No, it wasn't cheap. And then some of the magazines, they don't go in there correctly. I don't know what. This is why I never take it out, because I can't get it fucking put back in right. And then I'm gonna.
Okay, if Andrew ever puts his up on eBay, you know it has not been well treated. You've just seen him.
Yeah, you saw him damaging.
Look, if you look at the top of the magazine, it sticks out, and I'll fix it later. Because I do keep my stuff in generally good condition, so I'll fix it later.
All right, so let's move on to me. And I'm going to go back in time to before I was a fan, and it's the Kiss Meets the Phantom at the Park.
Nice.
Super scoops from the latest, or from the first Kiss movie. And obviously this is from 1978, and it's an official Kiss magazine. Obviously, outside of any of the shit I've done, whether it's, writing books or, doing that sort of thing, I love magazines like this that are dedicated to a single topic. And just like Lonnie did with the Psycho Circus, Metal Edge special, and some of these other ones, everything about this magazine is really cool because it's got some great interviews with the guys. It's really corny as well. I mean, it's a totally corny magazine. You got some great photographs, and it's just got, everything that sums up, several pages of advertisements for Kiss merchandise from 1978 that really sums up the Super Kiss era. So lots of black and white, lots of interviews, lots of pictures, just absolutely perfection for a Kiss magazine, and classic era. So from their height, it's kind of, makes it more interesting to me.
What's cool about that is like Peter's picture is the biggest one on there. And how many times do you see a picture of the four where Peter's image is bigger than the other images? Like Gina Paul isn't the biggest image.
Doesn't it bother you guys that it's not a 78 image? They're like, we're just going to trot out this old.
Shit like that really pisses me off when it's not the same outfits like that. But But it's really that's interesting though that it's not Gene or Paul with the bigger image, that it's Peter Criss with the bigger image. You'd never see that today. I mean, even in 96, 97, you wouldn't see that.
Yeah, that's ones I've been looking for. I might, pull the trigger and pick it up on eBay if I get a good price.
Yeah, and I think I got that pretty cheap in a stack of magazines, so it's not in great shape, but all my magazines get well used with flipping through them.
Sure.
And for anyone out there who is not aware of, we've got a Kiss FAQ subsite called FAQ Scan. So if you go to kissfaq.com/FAQ Scan, we've scanned in a ton of magazines, fanzines, articles, a whole bunch of stuff that people generally don't know is up there. So a lot of these magazines that I've actually held up are fully scanned and online. So, all right, let's continue. Let's go straight back to Andrew.
Okay.
I don't want to go in the same order every time.
I'm going to keep with the theme of classic rock, because here's another classic rock Kiss magazine, and this is the 40th anniversary set.
Oh, that's the folio, isn't it?
Yeah. And the cool thing about this one, you take this out. Again, classic rock, great packaging. I mean, look at this. This is like a hard case, kind of similar to what Kiss-3 was in. The binding didn't fall apart on this one. But again, we have one magazine dedicated to each member with the old John Varvatos shoot. So, and the cool thing about this, same thing. Each magazine has a dedicated article on each member that's on the cover. So obviously the Gene magazine has Gene in there, but there's so much cool stuff. Since it was celebrating Kiss 40, there's all kinds of cool articles in there about Kiss that don't really focus on any one era. So you get a kind of cool overview, and then you obviously get the Gene Simmons interview that's in here, and then you get the other members in the other magazines. There's a cool poster that came with this too. That was the poster for that movie that's probably never going to come out. And then the backside was a really cool Destroyer shot. I don't have it with me right now just because it's hanging up in my office. But that came with that too. And this wasn't cheap. I think it ran me like $50, but it was worth it. And I really enjoy this magazine.
Yeah, I made the mistake of just looking at the price of that on eBay. $179. But those John Varvatos pictures are absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Even if it's a blast back to Dress to Killer, I gotta say those are just really good looking photographs. So.
And these just classic rock, they just always do a great job. I mean, this is a great package. So it keeps the magazines all safe in there. See, I'm trying to put them in all nice just to keep everything all safe and in good shape. And they always do something great with the packaging. I mean, when you put them in each of the binding, it says that it spells out a Kiss logo. So it's totally cool. When the first time I saw this, I bought it immediately. Didn't even wait. It wasn't even one of those things where I was like, am I gonna? But it was just like, I'm done. I bought it. So, and it's great, and I love it. So anybody that doesn't have one, yes, it's a little more on eBay right now, but it's such a cool thing. And the poster's cool too.
Very cool. Lonnie.
Very nice. Andrew kept with his theme. I'm going to keep with my theme, and that's 96, 97 is the Spin magazines.
Nice.
Which were really cool. And flipping through here, there's like, you can tell how dated, I mean, mine's in good shape, but you can tell how dated it is because there's all kinds of like Columbia House order forms and stuff like that in here, like how magazines used to be. But this was a big deal when this came out, that they had the 4 separate issues of the magazine. It's the same inside, unlike the classic rock ones that Andrew was showing. But it was really cool that and that's how big Kiss was at the time in '96, that they would do something like that with the 4 different covers. And you had to search out to find the Ace and the Peter, because even '96 they printed more of the Gene and the Paul, and it was a little more difficult to find your Ace Frehley and Peter Criss ones. The pictures and the whole magazine isn't dedicated to Kiss; it's just Spin magazine for that month. The pictures inside aren't that great, but the cover the fact that they're on the cover 4 separate times was just awesome. And I think I ended up getting like the Peter Criss one truck stop in the middle of Missouri or something in July that year. But it took me a while to find all 4. And again, I guess I ended up buying 5 of that one because I had maybe even 6 because I had to cut up pictures inside. So that really set me back. But that was just awesome at the time of them doing it. This only cost $2.95. What a deal!
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Those other ones were like $6.
They're actually affordable as well.
It's funny you mentioned that Kiss Rocks the World magazine was $9.99.
Yeah,
at that point
so
for a
that cost
magazine,
me $30.
Oh, I'm gonna get $10.
Yeah, that was expensive. Well, that was expensive at the time. You got to think about that.
I agree with you.
And especially on a limited income. So, but those spin magazines were just awesome, and you can get those on eBay, and they're not that expensive even too. You can still find those out there. But just harkening back to '96 and that when they were so big and they were doing something like that. I mean, I don't even think that there's a band today that you could do that with. Not that the magazine market is anything what it was 20 years ago, but I don't think there's even a band today that you could even do something like that with 4 different magazines, and it'd be a craze like it was back then. So, the article inside wasn't that great. Like I said, the pictures inside weren't that great, but it was the cover. It was really the cover that sold that to me and to Kiss fans around the country when that came out. So.
Those cover photos are terrible of Peter and Ace.
Yeah, but it was the principle of the matter.
That's the only thing about it. Yeah.
I've never had those magazines either because I couldn't stand the photos. I couldn't stand Paul's. I just don't want to have a picture of Paul doing that anywhere near me.
Ace looked so surprised, like somebody told him that in a few years Tommy Thayer is going to be wearing your makeup, and he's like,
do you ever? I mean, Kiss has been wearing the makeup for a long time. Do you ever forget how great they looked in '96? Because I don't watch a whole lot of reunion tour stuff.
They were in shape in '96.
When I do, I go back. I'm like, dude, they looked so good.
Paul looks great in '96.
Gene was not a fat bastard.
No, Gene looks really good. But you watch some of that reunion stuff, and you watch like Tiger Stadium and some of those shows from early on, like July, August, the Madison Square Garden shows and then you see like some pictures of Gene like in Europe in '97, and you can see how he's filled out in that costume in just the year that they've been on tour. Like his arms and his shoulders are. He's carrying a little more weight than he was in.
He's eating good. He's having the best of everything. He was having the best of everything.
And even when they came out, when Psycho Circus came out, he had on the Destroyer outfit. I'm like, oh my God, he looks so fat. And I said, oh, he looks terrible. And I see pictures of him now, and I was like, oh, I wish he looked like he did at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
So, just funny.
And at the time in '96, I thought they looked dreadful. But now looking back, they look wonderful. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, I'm getting senile.
Perception.
Yep. So, who are we on now? Ken.
All right, well, keeping with the theme of your kind of 4 magazines dedicated to 4 guys, I have these. Okay, here's 4, but they don't have covers on them. But they're dedicated. Each one is dedicated to each member of the band. These came out.
Are those these?
Oh, I want those.
I
want those.
Nice.
Yes. So
those were going to be my pick. So let me.
Okay, no, that's all right.
And
I can still bring out other stuff. But the reason I don't have the cover on it, and he's showing you the cover, Julian. These are great magazines. I had to. Whoops. There we go. Take the covers apart to create this. The poster.
Ah, yes.
This great poster, of course, of that picture at the time. Again, when I was buying this stuff back in '78, I wasn't thinking I'm going to collect this and I'm going to do something with it. I had my walls covered. My ceiling was covered. Everything was covered in my bedroom. I had Kiss all over the place. So these magazines are great. And what's great about them is they have good articles that they don't normally write about. In these, and plus they dedicate most of the magazine is about each of the individual members. So this one, for instance, I think is the Gene one. It's basically an interview with Gene. They have other thing about growing up, getting started. It's all black and white stuff, but it's just a lot of good articles, which is really very interesting to read still, and I think probably Julian has maybe some more comments on this, set, but I think it's fantastic. I remember picking it up in the store, seeing all four and picking them up, right there, then and there.
I want those.
I don't know if I have all four. The remains in this bag may be the Gene one, but
okay.
Mine are all falling apart. But again, I needed them for a project. But Groupie Rock Specials is what those are. And
Groupie Rock Specials.
Yeah.
I'm looking on eBay right now.
Yeah, from 1979 is the date on them. And you know what? I love the Paul one because right here on the cover, I'll just zoom it in a bit. Paul's Tragic Secret. It just it's a little bit tabloid.
What is Paul's Tragic Secret? Don't leave us hanging.
I have no idea. I can't remember.
Okay.
These are just out because they're on my desk for a couple of years. So yeah, those are really cool ones. And going back to the four, individual members on covers, they at least come from the classic era, the heyday. So to me, I would love to get mint copies of those just to have them. And I'd put them in plastic and suck the air out of them and just put them away and look at them because they're from the best part of the. Look at Andrew surfing the net. Yeah.
These are like the actual without the cover. Without the cover, these are pretty darn mint. I mean, it's not really bent up or anything. These all four, except for the cover being off of them, they're like mint. I mean, they're just great.
There's a whole set on there for $175 or best offer. And it looks like it's a nice set.
Yeah, which is a little bit more than those spin magazines, which, I'm looking at a couple of those auctions right now. $20 for one lot and $44.99. Buy it now.
They had some other articles in there too, besides being dedicated about, this one, Diary of a Kiss Photographer.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about them is they're diverse. It's not just,
It's a lot of different, not your normal stuff that you would get in those magazines that were coming out at the time. These are a lot of different articles that you normally would read. You say, oh yeah, I knew that. But there's new information in these things too at the time, which if I go back now, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or so it's cool.
I'm glad you picked those because even though I just happen to have those sitting around, they're excellent ones to mention. All right, I'm going to jump into my next pick, and you're not going to be surprised. It's another one of these damn things.
I almost grabbed that one today, but I didn't.
Yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite ones. This is the Kiss Tours from 1988. Again, it's another rock scene spotlight special, and it had a great poster. And that Creatures.
That's nice.
Yes,
was the poster, and that was up on my wall. And
me too. What was on the backside? It was like a shitty asylum photo, and I'm like, what the fuck?
What?
Wow, you just got kicked off the show.
You just said
guys.
You said shitty asylum.
No. It's the photo. The photo was a shitty photo.
Yeah. No, there are some pretty bad ones in there.
Hey, check out the picture discs in Ken's house.
Yeah.
But for me, there we go. Kiss Unmade, 1970. What was it? 72. That would have been, or 73. So a lot of the pictures, again, it was educating a fan like me who was a real newbie at that time. And while we know a lot of this information about each of the tours that it covers is actually wrong, we weren't going to be blessed with Kiss Alive Forever for many years. Or
kissmonster.com for many years.
Yeah. So, it was really a learning point. I had no idea what they had performed on any of the tours. So, going back to my youth, a favorite. Absolutely love it. That one I keep nearby as well. So, all right, let's go back to Lonnie. And I'm losing track of how many times I've been around the table. So,
somebody has to do this one. So it's gonna be me. And it's
I don't even have that. I don't
really.
I do not have that either.
I have it. Yeah.
I want the 70s Playboy one because that has a cool article about the Japanese 77 tour.
That's the only one worth having.
Harkening back to 98, it was really cool that I had an excuse. Not that I need an excuse when I was 18 years old to go buy a Playboy or something, but it was really cool that Kiss was on the cover of Playboy and you're 18 years old. So, I guess I did buy a few of these, I guess, too, but And again, I don't think I read the articles in it, but it was really cool that Kiss was, doing, I guess, different things like that. You didn't see, again, I'm going to sound like Gene, but you don't see other bands on the cover of Playboy with girls around them. It was a really unique thing that I guess for Kiss, especially with Shannon, I guess, and Gene, and the relationship with Hugh Hefner, and that they were able to pull that off. But it is what it is, but it's just a very unique thing about Kiss that's different from other bands that they have. I think Gene's the only man to ever be on the cover of Playboy, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've never owned that.
For no intel.
I did have the '70s one, but I had to cut the article out of it and bin the rest of the magazine. So.
I think I was like, I don't think I was 18. I guess was I 18 when it came out? I don't know. If I was like right on the borderline of 17 or 18 when it came out, and I was a little nervous going up and buying it, but I remember my brother even asking me, well, if you need me to get you a copy of that, I will, because I know that you're gonna want it. It's like, well, that's really cool of him, but I was able to get my copies of it without having to hearken after my older brother.
So touching on kind of the nudie magazines with good Kiss articles, here's one from 2006, Perfect 10 magazine, which I just got to fold over the page because I didn't edit this one out. Has a great interview with Peter Criss. So along those lines, that's one I haven't chopped up. So the Playboy one I never got. I just wasn't into that. I did not want to see chicks in Kiss makeup with Kiss. It just, I don't know, it doesn't appeal. But
it's too weird.
Yeah, but good for them doing it. It's one of those things. It's another American icon, Playboy, for better or worse, or whatever you think about the magazine or the whole thing. Andrew, are we coming back to you?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to change gears a little bit. I know all the magazines I've kind of talked about were newer magazines, so I'm going to go with an older one, the 1979 poster book. So, and this magazine is great. I actually have two. This is the one that survived, but once you take the posters out of it, there's not really a whole lot going on in this magazine. There's some great Dynasty shots, and they talk about merchandise, obviously. But the cool part is, and obviously it's got a great Return to Kiss ad on the back. But and I actually have 2 copies or 3 copies. I don't even know. But anyway, here are the posters, and these aren't in the best shape. But however, I'm going to try to show you guys. These posters aren't in the best shape. However, I'm going to try to show you guys. I actually had a second set of posters framed. So in my, I don't know if you can see them over. Can you see them right there?
Yeah.
So there they are. Yeah. So those are in way better shape than the ones that I actually have loose. But I still have 2. So, and they're okay. I mean, you can see they were definitely up on somebody's wall for certain.
Yeah.
So, but still, gotta have them.
I have that. I do have that same. I bought it at the time, and I did have those posters up on my wall. I still have the posters. They're all folded up now. But yeah, they have the pinholes on them still.
So it's still kind of. I mean, obviously these weren't mine. That they were on somebody's wall, so it was funny. So, but this is a great magazine, and I really, at the time when I was a kid, I really loved the Dynasty era. I loved the costumes. I just loved everything about the Dynasty era. I remember watching the old Dynasty TV compilation till the VHS tape broke. I had to get another one. But just that whole era was just so cool to me. And then to be able to get these posters and put them up was even cooler. And actually, in the 80s, there was bootleg posters released that were similar to these. They weren't folded. They were actually long posters with slightly different shots of the Dynasty costumes. But it's a must-have for Kiss fans, because the posters are so cool. And there's black and white shots on the back of the posters.
On the back of them, yeah.
That aren't as cool, but still cool.
Yeah, they did have, I had the poster book, and I also bought, at the time, they did release 4, they call them superheroes, I think, posters. The 4 different posters of them in their Dynasty outfits. All 4 of them.
On the black?
With a black background, I think. Yeah, I think.
Hold on. Are these them? Because I always thought that these were bootleg.
Well, show me one, and I can
I'm gonna show
remember
you
I
one.
had them on my walls.
Is it this one?
No,
Sorry
that
about
looks
the glare.
different. No, he had the full outfit on, and with
All right.
the whole
Because
thing. So those
I
might be
was,
bootleg,
yeah,
but
I was certain that these were bootleg because these
they
I
had
think
a
were.
white border around
Oh, okay, okay. Oh
them
wait, I know what you're
too.
talking about. It was all 4 shots on one poster.
Oh, they did have that one, but I think they had individual too.
Hmm. I know the all 4 shots on one
Oh
poster.
yeah, I know the all first shots, but I could be wrong now. I could be thinking back that there was 4. So the
Still,
memory's going. It's a long
all very
time,
cool. All very cool stuff. I got to put
but yeah,
the
it's cool.
back up. See, my posters are organized. I knew exactly which one I was getting because all my posters are labeled what they are.
You're
Gotta
bigger
have
than the rest of us.
So here's a side question for you guys. Would any of you call yourselves magazine collectors? Kiss
yeah.
magazine collectors?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because anything new, any magazine that comes out new, that's kind of, I guess it would have to be pretty much dedicated to Kiss. Even if it has a good article, maybe it's just a small portion. Well, you can call Rolling Stone magazine, right? That's not all dedicated to Kiss, but I bought it. They're on the cover, of course. That makes that's a big deal when you have them on the cover, I think.
Yeah, that's a frameable moment for the band since it's such a mission accomplished. Finally on the
Yeah.
cover of Rolling Stone after 40 years, and it's a really great picture when you consider all the work that the Photoshop work that was put into that. And I can't remember who the guy was, but it was someone on the board online who did that Rolling Stone. I still got to pick up a copy of it.
I actually, Julian, I have 2 copies, so get at me after, and I'll give you my second copy.
Cool.
About that.
Oh,
I think magazines that was one of the first things I started collecting, though, actually. And it was easy to collect as a teenager were the magazines because you go to the store and there they were. You didn't have to seek them out too much, except maybe the spin magazines to get off war covers. But and you found out information about and as a bonus, you found out information about the band, especially from because the internet, like Andrew was saying earlier, the internet wasn't really there, and it was a way to see pictures of the band and to read about the band because the internet and you didn't have all this information at your fingertips. So it was one of the first things I started collecting was T-shirts and magazines. So I guess I would call myself a Kiss magazine collector for sure. So,
all right. Who's next? Who have I forgotten? Was it
I'll
you?
go.
I think it was you, Lonnie, who was next.
I got
Lonnie.
I got one more that I brought with me today, and that's another one of these metal.
Oh, that one. Another one of those.
And this
They
one
look
was
like
really,
shit there, like just shit.
well, they look awful. Ace looks like he's ready to keel over, and this one was really cool because it came with all these posters in it.
Yep.
And I bought a few of these. This one, I'm trying to remember. This one didn't have any of the posters in it. I guess I've taken them all out and put the magazine back together without the posters. But this one especially was really cool because of all the posters, and it really helped me fill up my walls even more from floor to ceiling, and pissed my mother off when I eventually moved out and they tore all the stuff down. They had to not only repaint, but because of the tape on the walls, they had to basically redo all the drywall in my room because of what I did to the walls. But
been there.
this one was really cool. We had interviews with all 4 of them about the farewell tour. There's a little advertising.
It says it includes Hard Luck Woman. What?
Yeah,
Never
it says
since
featuring
76.
Detroit Rock City, Hard Luck Woman, I Was Made for Loving You, Calling Dr. Love, and much, much, much more. And they never played Hard Luck Woman in any shows. Obviously, I mean it was supposed to be the Vancouver show on New Year's Eve, and then mixed in I think some of that Alaska show they did a couple days later just to fill in any kind of gaps that were there. But anyway, this one was just it was cool at the time because it was the farewell tour was happening. It was kind of like a bittersweet because Psycho Circus tour didn't come through St. Louis, and I didn't get to see him on the Psycho Circus tour because the tour was mainly just the East Coast and through Ohio and Chicago, and that was about it. There were no shows out west other than the Tiger State and the Dodger Stadium show. So I missed out on seeing them on that tour. So I was excited that Kiss was going to tour the States, but it was bittersweet because it was the farewell tour and I was buying into all that.
I actually saw them on the Psycho Circus tour at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Really?
And they were presented with the gold albums for Psycho Circus.
That's right. They get the gold albums that night.
So it was a great show.
There's tour dates in here and that, and which really cool. And I just noticed this right now. It says St. Louis May 10th on the farewell tour, and that didn't happen. They didn't come to St. Louis until August. So something happened that they didn't.
Isn't there Madison Square Garden on that tour itinerary too? That tour itinerary is like awful.
The tour, yeah.
It lists the PNC Bank
June,
Arts.
I'm sorry, it's June 10th. They had St. Louis on here, but they didn't come here till August. But I don't know. I don't see it offhand. But that tour, obviously, just from glancing at it right away, the tour itinerary is definitely off. I saw him twice on that tour. I saw him in Peoria, Illinois, and I saw him in St. Louis. But that was just a really cool one because the posters that came with it, and like I said, it was just bittersweet at the time because I was finally going to get to see him again, but I was also afraid it was going to be the last time I would get to see him. So some might say it was the last time I got to see the real.
Oh, don't start. Every time someone says that, I'm like, shut up. Just shut your mouth. Ugh.
Andrew, we haven't had a good rant from you yet today.
That's my rant. My rant is when people they talk about the farewell tour. Oh, it's the last time I saw the real Kiss. I'm like, shut up. And what makes me so mad about that, it's the people that are bitching about that. They're on like the FAQ, or they were on another message board. They're on they're on a board about Kiss, and they're bitching about Kiss. Why are you doing that? Like, I don't get it. If you don't like it,
here's the part that blows my mind. They're bitching about Kiss and something that happened nearly 20 fucking years ago.
Get over it.
Yeah, you're right. It is almost 20 years ago now.
How long has Tommy been in the band? And Eric?
A long time.
Yeah.
How long has this lineup been? And, I don't give a shit. I've never hidden my feelings about not being a big fan of them wearing the makeup and a lot of the decisions they've made. But so fucking what? Leave. If it's making you miserable, if it's making you just keep going to a message board and getting banned for complaining about the same old shit that no one has any control of, take your fucking medication, please.
What I really like is I love and I understand the message board is a great mixing ground for different types of fans and different kinds of fans. But what I really love is like when someone posts something and they post it like it's gospel and it's fact, and I'm like, that's how old are you? Because that's not how it happened. Or someone they just don't know, they haven't done their homework on their facts, and they're sprouting off what happened and what they think did and this that. And like that's not what happened, my friend. Just settle down. So, and I can't even tell you how many times I've typed up something really like, I'm like, oh, it's so fucking bad. And then I'm like, I'm just gonna delete it, and I just don't even post it because I'm like, well, I'm not gonna get an internet fight with somebody. I'm an adult. I'm not gonna do that.
And I guess that's something that makes, the KISS community really interesting, that there are people with so many differing views that are so passionate about the views, that only believe their own views and really want to make other people believe them, regardless of the fact that they're totally wrong. So, it's entertaining.
Along those lines, with time while we were talking about lineups, and that I'm sure you guys have probably seen all the rumors online about Guns N' Roses.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Reuniting. It's just taken over the internet lately. But one of the things out there is that it might not be Izzy Stradlin on rhythm guitar, that it might be a different guy on rhythm guitar.
Gilby Clarke.
No, it's not even Gilby Clarke.
Richard Fortas or whatever.
Richard Fortas. He's actually from St. Louis, on rhythm guitar, and a different drummer. And there was and people were complaining, well, that's not the real Guns N' Roses, then I'm not going to go see it. But it might be like the same people who not defend, but like defend's a wrong term for it, but are on board with the current lineup, but I can't see that version of Guns N' Roses. Well, then what's the difference?
Yeah.
What is the difference?
So you saw the other thing on the board regarding that, where it said, should KISS open for Guns N' Roses?
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Some people are just really bored when they make threads.
Sometimes I just want to delete threads, and sometimes I then just decide to leave them because I just scratch my head, and I obviously don't get it because I just don't want to get involved in a thread like that, but I have to leave it.
I think that's what Gene and Paul are thinking. Yeah, let's get on board and see if let's call Axel and see if we can't open up for them.
The whole, I know we've gone off on a little bit of a tangent here, but, the whole Guns N' Roses thing, I have zero interest in,
Really?
Yeah, me neither.
Really?
I will not go and see them.
No. I saw them.
They won't come here
already, so
because they haven't played here since Actual Punched a Fan. So I'll have to go to Kansas City or Chicago or somewhere to see them when they do.
You know, there are very few bands like that. If they were formed, that I would even give the time of day. Guns N' Roses, if I want to listen to something, I'll get a bootleg from the 80s and listen to the band before they fucked it all up with Matt Sorum joining. You know,
I like Sorum. I
have no. He's a great drummer. You know, I love what he did with the Cult. But you know, I have no interest in that band after they added Dizzy and started doing all of this pompous, orchestrated, bloated stuff instead of just doing the sleazy rock and roll. So it gets back to Kiss in a way that I like them basic. I like them just playing dumb rock and roll, you know, rather than all this pompous crap. And Axl, you know, whatever. More power to them if they can pull it off. All right, I'm going to pick another magazine and I'm going to go from the kind of the present, and it is the official Kiss magazine.
Why? Who did the photoshopping on that cover? It sucks.
It's awful.
It is, but it's the content.
it's a good magazine. Though.
There's a lot of shit in these magazines, and a lot of stuff that I hate. But there are some gems, and of course, Kurt and Jeff contributed a few extremely interesting Into the Vault type stories, and
that thankfully we have now.
Yeah, you've got Corky Stasiak getting interviewed. You've got Michael Dorrit really going into his artwork. I really love one of the magazines had a fantastic interview with Paul about his influences. And, you know, at the time people were on the board going, what the hell do I care about any of that stuff? But here was Paul talking about the music that was important to him, that as a musician that really helped guide him. And if you want to know where Kiss's music comes from, you have to understand the music that each of the members liked. So hearing him talk about those albums, I thought was really good. This magazine did not last. What did it have? 5 issues before
4 or 5, something like that.
before it went up the shitter. And I mean, I submitted some stuff from it for it that never got published because, you know, it really wasn't up to snuff compared to the stuff that was put in. But I would love to see the band do this again, and kind of take it album by album. Do, you know, like the Kiss Album Focus, to do, you know, here's the Kiss official magazine. We're only talking about Kiss, the album, the era, you know, and just them reminiscing about things, interviewing them, and doing features on that. They've done a great feature on the making of Rock and Roll Over. We know that there's good features on the making of Destroyer, but it would be really nice to have an official Kiss magazine back again. Yeah, but obviously it didn't work out, or else it would still exist if it was profitable.
So, yeah, that was good. They only did 5 copies, right? Is that 5 issues?
Yeah, they only sold 5 copies. That's it. They only 5 copies.
I have them.
Sold.
So yeah, it would have been nice had they continued that, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they had Paco Zimmerman in one of them, who was the tour manager at the time. So, you know, some cool behind-the-scenes stuff. There's some good stuff with Tommy. You know, there I said something nice about Tommy today. Just for anyone who thinks I'm a Tommy hater, I'm not. So, all right, who's next?
I actually got one on deck if we want to. This one, I actually only like the cover. This is one of the coolest covers.
That is indeed very cool.
I don't even know what's in this magazine. I've never read it. I've never opened it, but I thought, damn, that's a cool cover.
That's a cool cover.
And, you know, at the time, Cream gave Kiss quite a bit of a spotlight. And I have a ton of different Cream magazines that Kiss was in. And, you know, it's cool. This basically sums up the 70s experience. And for me, as a kid, when I had this magazine, I was a huge Godzilla fan. So obviously Kiss as Godzilla, I thought it was just so cool. So there you go. I can't really say anything else about it because I've never... Actually, you know what? I'll open it up right now. I've never even opened up this package.
Yeah, what year is that, Andrew?
I'll tell you in a second. I want to say 77, maybe 78. Let's see.
Wait, is that the scream of Mark Cicchini saying, don't take it out of the packaging?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, he kissed my ass. And Mark is a great friend of mine. But my Kiss collection is meant to be enjoyed. This is August of 77.
Okay.
August of 77. So let's see what's in here. It smells really bad. I'll tell you that. Like, really bad. Like, it smells... Oh, there's
it's that high-quality paper Cream used.
It smells... It's making me gag. It's so bad. Because it's like... It's almost like... It's like one step above newspaper. And, ugh. I mean, it hasn't gotten wet because then it would have been damaged. But, oh, look, there was 2 color pages, and, of course, it was the Hall & Oates.
Well, actually, from this angle, I can see the mold wafting up by your face.
Oh, it's terrible. There's actually there's a cool Cheap Trick article, which I'm a really big Cheap Trick fan. Okay, here we go. So we're talking about Kiss. We got a cool little thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a great photo shoot. Okay, so we got some cool Kiss stuff in here. It's all about Japan '77 because they're all Japanese pictures from '77, all Japanese fans, and there was a total of 4 pages on Kiss. And look at this. That's kind of cool. A full page ad for Love Gun at the back.
Oh,
so
that is nice.
Again, cool magazine. I've never read it. Probably never going to, because probably everything in here I probably already know about the band. But still, the cover is so cool. The cover is so cool.
All right. Anyone else got magazines still lying on their tables?
Yeah, I got another one here.
Cool.
This one maybe Lonnie might like us. This is called Complete History Kiss. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's Revenge. They had a full interview with them about Revenge. In that, here's on the back there, advertising it, and they got some other picture like you don't normally see. There's a Revenge era picture.
So cool.
And actually, that looks like it's from Paul Lynde.
It is.
It's special. And then they cover. There's a lot of good pictures in here actually, but they actually cover each member, present, past at that time. Look, they even got a full page for Vinnie Vincent.
Who's that
in there?
Why is there a girl in that magazine? There's no girl.
Yeah.
Who's that?
And so there's Ace and Vinny right next to each other on those 2 pages. And it's just got a lot of good stuff. Like I said, the scrapbook. They call it scrapbook. They have pictures with them and their parents. The centerfold is this old great.
That's the first album
Picture from the first album when they had inserted that poster in their album at the beginning. So yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, it's Revenge era. So hey, here you go, Lonnie. It was a good one.
Very nice.
I know these are considered books, but these are my last 2 that I got on here. You got to have both of these. The Music Life specials. They're the best.
They are absolutely massive magazines, and while we can't read a lot of what's in there, they do have the great itineraries from I think it's the '77 tour, with lots of notes. And again, those are up on FAQ Scan on the KissFAQ website. Both of those. And
sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, go ahead.
When you did the books, did you talk about the Japanese photo book that covers both of those tours?
No, I didn't.
Hold on, I'm gonna grab that right now.
All right.
So while he's grabbing that, yeah, those are great. The other ones that I almost showed, that's a cool one. Record Review. Is I have some of the Grooves magazines that came out back then, and then there was, what we're not talking about is the Kiss comic books, the original ones, Marvel. I mean, those are basically kind of magazines, but those are essential.
I thought about those too, and I was like, oh, maybe we'll do a comic book show one day, though, too.
Yeah, I think a separate... that's a book.
Yeah.
I know it's a book, and I know we're getting off topic, but, I mean, the photos in here are from both 70s tours, and they're just freaking awesome. Most of these photos I've never seen before until this book came out. I mean, check this stuff out, man.
That is insane.
Yeah.
I actually passed up buying that this week.
Dude, don't. I was
the
really
front
lucky.
of that one? What does it look like? Oh yeah, okay.
I was really lucky. I saw Kiss in Japan in 2006, so I met a lot of great people in Japan and made a lot of great Japanese friends. So every time something cool Kiss Japanese comes out, I just call to one of my Japanese friends and I say, "Hey, can you get me one of those? I'll PayPal you, right now." And it's done. I never have to worry about Japanese Kiss merchandise anymore.
And I guess there's another new Japanese Kiss book coming out very soon as well. So you may have seen it on Facebook.
It's on my list.
Yep. So going over to this one, and this is just one I've got sitting here because obviously we're finishing up the 1978 book recently. This had some great interviews with all 4 of the guys. While it's not dedicated to Kiss, it's the one where Paul mentions that he played the breakdown solo in Hooligan. And Gene talks a lot about his early bands. So, there's some nuggets that were available in the 70s. I mean, what is this? December 78, and I'm not even sure what country this is, because this copy came from Canada. Just
Canada, eh?
Hey, so it just had some cool nuggets in it. That is the reason why I love Kiss magazines. I mean, obviously, anytime I need a quote, it's easier to go into a magazine and find it. Because it's 40 years ago, so it's close. It's better than asking any of the band members now on the topic. You just find what they said previously.
Hold on 1 second.
And I have one more on my desk, and it is one of these abominations. So I'm not even sure what it is.
What is it? What year is that?
It's the Metal Edge 2000. It's
yeah, I have that.
A whole bunch of specials. I couldn't find any of my other Metal Edge ones that you've actually shown most of them.
Ken, show up that one. That's a great one.
Another one for Lonnie.
Oh,
that is a fantastic one.
The best hip Praetor, and
has that little booklet.
That is fantastic.
Still in it, yeah.
I'm disappointed in myself I didn't bring that one out.
There's so many, magazines over the years. It's hard to pick, any certain ones, but...
I'm disappointed in myself I didn't bust that one out. That's a great one.
I remember buying the old, the 16 magazine back in the day when those were on the shelves.
Did they call you a Nancy boy when you're buying 16?
Yeah, it had Marsha Brady or something on it, or something else, or David Cassidy. And David Cassidy and Kiss, and I'm buying, but I was buying it for the Kiss photos that they were in there. Usually it was pinups,
They were laughing at you. They said, "Yeah, sure, you're buying for the Kiss photo."
Buy it for my little sister.
Well, here's the cool thing. Some of those magazines, they would also have really great posters in them. So, like, this was a magazine poster.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple. I have some 16 posters in here. Oh, I got one of these. This is rare. This is a non-folded Ace Frehley order form. But like something like this, where it's like you got the Village People on one side, and then you got Kiss on the other side.
Right. I have a lot of those.
I think
types.
Andrew would like. No, not Andrew.
No. Alex would be jealous of your Village People poster.
Yeah, that would be just a manner of heaven for him.
But it's not the original Policeman, so he's not into it anymore.
So here's how, as we start wrapping up this show, we have not talked about a lot of magazines like the Scandinavian ones and the German magazines, which...
Actually, I have a poster from one of the German magazines I'm just going to pull out right now.
Are absolutely, there are some of those magazines which are insanely cool. A lot of the custom photos that were taken in Europe during the 80 and 83, 84 tours.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Were really cool. And we haven't really talked about Circus Magazine. So,
Circus Magazine's great. And Rock Scene, we talked about that a little bit.
But, Circus did not have that many dedicated issues to, Kiss. There was always more content that, about other bands as well, rather than a single band. And
where did this poster come from? Does anybody know?
Hold it up a bit.
Cool.
I have no idea.
I don't know where it came from. It's out of a magazine. I just don't know what magazine it came out of.
And there was the other magazines that they put out. They're almost like books, but they're thin and they had heavier paper. Like they had one, they're called like one that I was looking at. It said Kiss Live, and it had, I think it was mostly Creatures era stuff in that one.
Oh, it goes like this. Trying to fold it back the way you got it folded it's just. That's why I don't look at this stuff, because I'm like, I don't want to fold it back up. Fuck.
Yeah, that was one of the struggles back in the day, is to fold those up the right way.
Oh, and actually, here's a controversial poster. This is really controversial. So all the fanboys out there are just gonna blow their minds. This is a really controversial poster. It's that '70s show poster, and look, it's
yes.
one with Eric and Tommy.
I have that. That was the first time. That's the first time you saw Tommy in the makeup.
Yeah, Eric is wearing Peter's old Psycho Circus / Farewell Tour costume. Mm-hmm. Because those of you that look at those costumes, you'll know that when they put these costumes back on for the Alive 35 tour, he had a whole new costume made, as well as Tommy. This is Ace's costume that Tommy kind of just made fit on there.
Yeah, move that a little bit more into the center of your screen so that people who are watching the video can see that. Everyone watching the audio.
When that '70s show was syndicated, that's when they did that.
Yep. And this is cool because, I know they used video on the Kiss Cruise for the logo, but look at that logo. That's cool.
That's a good one.
I would if they still, damn it, I don't know how this folds up now.
The one thing that bugs me about the magazines back then, though, sometimes that always bugged the heck out of me is when they put the pictures backwards.
Yep.
Reverse. So you always see, you saw
Star
Paul
on the
Stanley's star was on the arm. I'm like, oh, it's wrong.
Throw it away.
Yeah, throw this magazine away. How does that happen? How does someone let that happen? I never understood.
Don't know.
Bad editor.
They're not as big as dorks as we are.
Well, I mean, we are dorks. I know that.
Just one of those things that shit happens and they don't care.
Yeah.
No.
It just gives Kiss fans something to notice.
Yep.
All right, let's wrap this up. So there's a whole bunch of magazines that are some of the panel's favorites. Obviously, everyone out there listening, hopefully people are listening, have their own favorites. So why don't you come into the FAQ message board or onto Facebook, any of the posts that we do about this show today, and let us know what some of your favorites are. There's a whole ton of them that we haven't mentioned, because there are a lot of magazines. So I love to, there have been some discoveries for me today of ones that I need to keep an eye out on eBay for. Educate each other, because you're not going to know it all. You learn something new. That's something that might be interesting that you never knew of. So share with us.
And if you have a copy of Faces, let me know. I want it.
All right.
When did that one come out?
96.
I might have it.
I'm gonna go check now and see if I have one, because then maybe we can do a
to
trade.
look.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I got that Rolling Stone for you. That's a done deal.
Let me see if I have one, and we'll see what we can do. So Andrew, Ken, Lonnie, thank you very much for joining me today, and thank you everyone for listening. Check us out on the board and on Facebook, and hopefully see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thanks.
Boom. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. We hope to see you again.